Hi guys, so we are back for another video, and today I'm talking about how to upgrade your snake's size of enclosure. Let's go.
領域展開エビの部屋
So, if you have like a small snake, I'm not gonna show you a small snake. If you have a small snake like my boy Kawaki here, which is a corn snake, he is a Anery Sunkist het Emil het Castagna corn snake for the nerdy guys here. And as you can see, he's pretty small. Well, he's like 42 grams when I weighed him last week of filming. So he lost a little bit of weight. If you see it, if you don't, here he shedded last night. And as you can see, and I'll open the enclosure, he is in the small box in the enclosure. Now, why is that? And first thing first, he came with me here at the AodaReptile. He was in a smaller box when I came back with him, and I put him in a smaller box also than this. So why should you have multiple sizes of boxes, tubs, or enclosure in your collection? Is first things first, when you have a baby snake. When I got him, he was like a month old and 9 grams. So, you know, I won't throw him in a 4x2x2 or a 5x2x2 like here, for example. It is just a way to stress him out, you know, that's just how it works. As you maybe know, snakes need secure space. Of course, you can put them in a really big enclosure directly, no problem, but you will have to adapt a lot. So it's easier for you most of the time to just get a smaller box, like small tub or whatever, and just go. Now, up until a certain size, I go with, okay, he goes in a box and not in the enclosure. We have someone curious here, if you want to see something out of subject, but I did the same thing with them, if you want to know. So here he is. He's just watching. Maybe this next week's video will be about him. You don't know. But back to the subject is that if you want to be sure your snake feels secure, has no problem with eating or whatever, I always advise to put in a smaller box first, then in a bigger box, and then in the final enclosure. Generally, what I do is I have 1 or 2 boxes between when he comes in, and when I have the snake in its permanent or almost permanent enclosure. Like here, for example, you know, first thing first is I go on its box that is like, you know, I'll take the thing of here so you can see it. But for example, I take a box that is like this height, for example here, that is that long, so from here to here, so maybe 3/4 of the size of this one, and I put him that for a couple of weeks, couple of months. You know, it was in there. It came in October 2023, and he stayed in that little box up until February 2024, just to be sure that he has enough weight to be in a bigger enclosure, bigger box, you know. And so my rule of thumb, for example, in corn snakes is, you know, from whatever the weight you get him. For example, let's say like him 9 grams up to 25 grams. He goes in a smaller box. Then from 20 to, yeah, let's say 25, and let's say 25 up to, I don't know, like 55. He goes in a box like this, and then he goes into the big enclosure. Now, why is that? It's super simple, and I have other snakes here watching me. It's pretty, yeah, I don't have snakes here that are watching me, but I know Garaga is watching me. He's just like, I see you. And the other one, Ishiki, is just like roaming around. But you have your snake, you know, and you know the thing is that if you want, for example, to socialize them, it's also easier for you to have them in the smaller boxes, that you don't have to chase them around. They're just like, where he is, and just moving things everywhere just to find him, because you don't find him, then to just be like, he's this small box, you know, you just put his hideout or the other one of the two hideout, and there he is. But it's easier. So my rule of thumb, for example, for smaller snake, or snakes that are born a little small, like snakes that are like, yeah, as you saw the size of the enclosure, for example, size of the box, for example, it's the rule of thumb for corn snake, for small colubrids, let's say, for me. And when it comes to carpet python, for example, when I got Sakuna, he was like 25-ish grams or something. I don't remember by head, just like this, or maybe a little bit less. But I got him directly in those type of box because he's a semi-arboreal snake. You also have to adapt yourself to the snake, because if you have a snake that is not the most arboreal snake, like a corn snake, for example, like a California king snake, for example, all those type of snakes, you know, that are like adults, like 4 foot-ish adults, you know, or that are born in that range of size, and there are mostly terrestrial snakes. Of course, you can get them a lower box, but for example, for carpet pythons, you need them to have a little bit more height, climbing opportunities, I should say, more than height. And that's why I gave them directly more room, because they're also longer than a normal corn snake, for example, you know, because corn snake are like, I don't know, let's say corn snake is born at, I don't know, like, let's say 15 centimeters, for example, you know, I'm saying numbers like this, and a corn snake the same age will be like, a carpet python the same age will be like 30 centimeters, so you need already a small, bigger boxes, or to be sure. Okay, now when, as I said, they go in the with me, they go in a bigger enclosure when they are at 50-55 grams. I let Sarada go in the enclosure. She was 55, almost 55 grams. So that was in the 4x2x2 that I had a couple of months ago, that I sold because I don't need it anymore. And I still have my 10 years old enclosure, if you want to know. But yeah, so, and then I moved her from the 4x2 to the 4x1.6 to the 5x1.6 enclosure, which they can also have a lot of cool stuff, you know. And bigger is better, if you do it reasonably, of course. But yeah, that's pretty much the thing. For ball pythons, how did I do? Still the same size of box, small box that I showed you. You know, I put them in there for a couple of months, up until what I had here. What I did here is they were a little bit small. I put them in the 4x1.6 directly, and they needed maybe small because they come from tubs. And so what did I do is I put them in the smaller, and I let them in there up until they were eating like 5-6 times, and then they got back in the big enclosure, and here we go. So, and now I don't have any problem anymore. So with corn snakes, you know, they're smaller snakes, born smaller, and so you need them to be yeah, a little bit like, you know, if you want to be sure everything is fine, you need to have them in a smaller cage for a couple of months, up to a year, depending on the how much weight they gain in that year. So for me, I feel like 55 grams is enough to go in a big enclosure without any problem. Now, you know that I'm cohabiting. To give you an idea, he's 42 grams last week of filming, and she was 220 grams when I was last week of filming. So the thing is that there is a big gap of weight between them. So how do I manage that? Is that I let him maybe cook a little bit more in the smaller enclosure, and maybe I let him go at 60-65, so he has 60-65 grams. So, you know, when he is big enough like this, I can put him in that, and there will be no problem. Now, to give you an idea, right now, Hime, which is in shed right now, he's at the time of filming 340 gram, where Sukuna, which is in the corner right there, but you don't see him, maybe I'll show you a B-roll stuff, and he is like 80 something grams, so he's still like a lot smaller than her, and there is no problem. That's how I do. So, and at the time I put him in the big enclosure, he was like 60 something grams, or maybe, yeah, I think 50 something grams, and she was like 250 or something, or maybe a little bit less, maybe 220 or so, or something, you know. And I had no problem with the cohab. So I'm gonna make the same thing. So if you don't know, for example, me, I'm cohabs corn snakes now for 6 years. So my first 2 snakes were corn snakes, and I cohab them also. I had clutch, as you can imagine. I double clutched every year. She double clutched. I can't clutch, but you know, you get the idea. She double clutched every year, and every year I had between 50 and 70 eggs. If you don't believe me, trust me. I mean, you can always DM me on Instagram, and I can drop some photos for you, because that was crazy. And I also have the dates every time. So I have always like 6 months between the two double clutch, the clutch 1 and clutch 2. I had like 6 months or so, a little less than 6 months. And yeah. So the thing is, you have to, you also have to trust yourself, and also have to trust your snakes, because, at some point you will have like, okay, I see you're really already. The thing is with me, for example, what I have is that in these he's in that box, and he's not like oversized in that box. So I'm like, is he ready to go in the big one? Is he ready to go in the big one? And sometimes you just have to trust yourself, Maybe they roam around a lot. So I'm like, he's roaming around without being stressed. It's okay, most of the time. Because at the beginning, when I let him roam a little bit around, he was like super freaked out and stuff. So I knew it was not the time. But of course, he was like 20 grams or something, like maybe 12 grams or something. So of course, he wasn't ready for going in a big enclosure. But you get the idea, is that he is like, and now I feel like maybe he's ready to go. Maybe in the next couple of weeks, he will be ready to go and ready to fly in the big enclosure. So now I'm going to show you Sarah, so you have an idea of the size difference, because there is a big size difference, So you have here 2 corn snakes. Now, the thing is, there is more than a year of difference between both. So she is born on 22 of July 2022. So she turned 2 this year. And he is born in September, I should say, 2023. So you get the difference of a year between them. So why a year is because, well, for the cohab, and they're a pair. They're a future breeding cohabbing pair, and I will let her go because she's full, and I don't want to disturb her too much, because I don't want to have poop everywhere, which she's a champ for that. And I let him go also in his. What I do also, and you don't have to do it, this is bonus if you want, it's kind of bonus. It's that right now what I'm doing is, if you see the box is not closed, it's open. So while it's open, he can roam around if he wants. He doesn't roam around a lot during the day, but he can if he wants to. And this is pretty much it, I think, about that subject. So I hope you enjoy. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share. Don't forget to support with Star. Don't forget to join Breakers and Exotic Pets group. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, and I hope to see you on the next one.